So this stylus holder, tried to estimate the height of it, as well as the base. I'm going to probably jump up into this one, leave that one as a mistake. Lining it up at the top to give myself the center line is right here. Using these hash marks to kind of blend that in there. So I've already sketched out a little bit, so it saved me a little bit of time here, but I went with the largest one just for the base. And like I said, it starts out somewhat more of a mechanical approach, but not too bad. So this piece actually has a bevel to it. So I can just heavy that up pretty quickly. As it climbs up this piece, I use the same one, just for the overall shape to it. Didn't make it all the way across. That's going to be a connection to this tangent line. As I stretch this one up, coming up to the side here, you can see it has an edge to it that's going to be shaded off actually. So I'm just kind of going a little bit from here to here. And this one has a smaller one, still lining up with the vertical axis to help me. And that gives me plenty of wiggle room on either side. So again, taking the tangent of the outside of these two ellipses just to give me a perfect beginning and end point. Same on this side, I can heavy that piece up. So it's in the shape of a trapezoid. It still has the center where this selection of the stylus can drop down into. So placing that ellipse, just kind of measuring it off again where I have it from. Go one larger here. And you can see in the piece it's a soft edge, it's not a crisp hard edge, so I'm just going to keep it relatively light. And then where the pen actually drops in, that's going to be built right there. All this for the same idea. So this pen fits into that piece, into that triangular shape of the cone. A little bit of the tape on here I might add into it. You have a number of files for reference. The part that's coming across is also in a cylindrical shape. So I could get away with using this idea, which is the triangle of a 30-degree line. And see how far I can stretch this out here. And lining this up so that it will match this piece. And I can estimate some of it as it comes across there. So you can see that keeping this parallel is important. And dropping this one down here. So it gives it that ledge. And this part, with the loop, the outside edge, I can just freehand. Like so. And it's actually cut out, so it has this indentation and a little bit of the ellipse that it sees on the other side. So again, a simple image that is actually pretty complicated in its engineering and also in its concept stage. So as far as this tape section, I'm going to leave that there, but the radiation of this part as the shadow or the light source is going to cascade coming down this direction. So this would be considered the cross contour line. Just kind of placing it in there. It has a overall gray tone to it, darker on this side. So this part you can see it's very subtle gradation here, so I'm just going to cover this. Even though this is darker down here, it doesn't matter. Right now I just want to give it some tone, and considering this the local value or the local color, depending on how heavy the lines are, those are the ones I have to start to blend in there. So now it's an exercise in the value, trying to make a nice gradient coming across that edge. Just as a matter of showing contrast, this is in the values. I'm going to make this bottom one darker. And again, now I'm going the cross contour on this section, which is following the ellipse that made it in the first place. again. So here I'm trying to force the shadow. I'm just going to put in the base tone, thinking of it almost like a gradient in Illustrator. And right along this edge, this is not a crisp edge by any means, it's a softer piece. So I'm trying to take that line and drag it down with the value and blend it into itself until it gets lost in the shadow. Now the overall, when you think of this, almost like the idea of a histogram of the values in Photoshop, when we get into that, you will see that this, you look for the brightest white and the darkest dark and the midtones in between of this object and try to blend that in there. So right there becomes the blending point. Same with the interior of this, it's a concave idea, so it's going to have the pieces doing a cross contour line like this. If I were to look like it as a wireframe, and do the same idea, try to shade it so that it goes down that slope. And that's kind of like the most contrast as well in the shape. And here's a little arched for the centerpiece. That's going to be another one that has this section. The cross contour is actually going to be the angle that this pen or stylus, or if you look at it just with the pencil there, going in that direction. And try to build that up. Same on the other side. Here it has the light edge, and this time the top part, when you look at it, the inside ring is the darkest, and that's got a blend between that and the top to give that image a little bit more contrast. So work around your drawing to get that section in there. And then this one right here has the edge dark right up in that section, and as it goes from the top to the bottom, it changes value from a darker line to a medium gray. That gets that kind of blocked in there for you. This also has this rim, almost like a caldera volcano coming in here. And that has that blend coming down. So now this top ridge, it has the shading from the front down. That leaves the top part almost as a highlight. So if I wrap a line right around there, it's going to blend around and fade. But it's going to be darkest right down in the center where the stylus, this part, just like a pencil, would fit straight down the center. So this becomes the darker edge. Right in that section right there. So just using a little darker value. So there you kind of have it blocked out, a little off the edge, not too worried about that yet. And now it's just a matter of going in and darkening this thing even more. And this is the nice thing about the template. I'm going to place it back in here and use it to get a nice crisp detail line right there. At least I think I am. Right there. So this line, just going to hold it down here. And just dropping it down a little bit. And you can even come back down here to pick up the bottom. And again, why this is there, I can just use it as a template and shade right up against it. And it's almost dark on the outer pieces and then slightly lighter in the midpoint. it's building that section up. So it does give me a little bit of freedom there to build that out. This part becomes rounded off. You want to start to treat it almost like a gradient, and thinking back and forth between the computer to the drawing. You do the same when you're on the computer. This part, easily I can take that off with an eraser just to show you. But still concentrate on the shading. And there's a slight texture here with the tape, so I can wrap that on there. It is wrapping around, it's at an angle. I kind of indicate it there with a little edge line. Kind of sketch it in there. Trying to look at it, it's very subtle. Once you start off with a hard line edge, you're just trying to soften everything up from that point on. Let's see how you do that. Okay. So the stylus fits right into that holder there.